So what happens when a court says stop and the president doesn't? That's not a hypothetical, it is a recurring crack in the American system. Let me take you back to 1832. The Supreme Court had just ruled in Worcester v. Virginia that the state had no right to impose its laws on Cherokee land. It was a major legal victory for tribal sovereignty. But Georgia ignored it, and President Andrew Jackson didn't enforce it. He backed the state, not the court. There's a famous quote, likely apocryphal, that Jackson said, "John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it." Whether he said it or not, that's exactly what happened. The decision sat there, stillborn, and in years that followed, the Trail of Tears began. That's the first lesson here. A legal ruling without enforcement is just a piece of paper. Now fast forward to 2025. We're watching a similar pattern unfold. Not always as dramatic, but structurally just as dangerous. A federal judge ruled the administration unlawfully targeted pro-Palestinian campus activists for visa revocations and deportations and blocked the policy. The government appealed. A lower court said the firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook was unlawful. The Supreme Court let her remain and set arguments for January 2026. So the removal is on hold while the case proceeds. Another judge found the president's purge of inspectors general was unlawful, but declined to reinstate them. It's not that the courts aren't working. Some are. But their orders depend on execution, and right now enforcement often turns on timing and appeals and remedies. There's a constitutional duty here. The president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Not maybe, not if it's politically convenient, but if no one enforces that duty, if no agency resists, no inspector general remains, and no Congress acts, then it's not just one law that breaks. It's the idea that anyone is truly bound by the law in the first place. This isn't necessarily about one person, but it is about a precedent. If a president learns that delay equals victory, they'll design policies to run out the clock. Future courts may win on paper, while the facts on the ground harden. That's how rule of law erodes. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a slow series of judgments that just don't move. So what do we do with that? Well, we remember the laws don't walk themselves. They need legs and civil servants, state attorneys general, congressional investigators, and yes, citizens who refuse to let silence pass for normal. The Constitution gives us tools, but it doesn't pick them up for us. If the law is supposed to be stronger than any one person, who is holding it up when it starts to fall? And maybe more importantly, who isn't? I share a lot of work each week on TikTok, YouTube, Patreon, Substack, and on my website, and none of it is behind a paywall. And that's intentional, because if someone needs a perspective or a story or a reminder of what matters, they should be able to find it, whether or not they can pay. But the truth is, this takes real time and energy and care, and there are real costs to creating it, and to editing it, and to hosting it, just generally to keeping it going. And for personal reasons, in the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to get harder to sustain all of this unless we build a stronger foundation of support. So if this work means something to you, and you're in a position to help, I hope you'll consider it. You can support it on Patreon or Substack or directly through my website if that's easier. Every bit helps, really. If we don't reach that goal, I'll need to slow down. And with the way things are heading, the fear, the noise, the surveillance, the cruelty, I think it matters more than ever that this work continue. To be able to name what's happening, to remember what's possible, or to offer a buoy when things feel heavy. That's why I'm asking now, so this can keep going. and keep reaching the people who might need it most. Thanks.